Here it is, future showrunner Stephen Moffat's first Doctor Who script, excluding the 1999 comic relief special The Curse of Fatal Death, and Wilde is the impressed on his first time out. Not only is this episode considered one of the best of the first series, but this two-parter came 7th in a 2014 Doctor Who magazine poll of the greatest stories of all time. This is no mistake, and in this review I'll explain why. The episode starts with the Doctor chasing a metal cylinder moving through the time vortex. The TARDIS materialises in London 1941 during World War II. Rose notices a little boy on a rooftop asking for his mummy. Rose goes on top of the roof and grabs onto a rope, hoping to climb to the lost child. It turns out she grabbed onto a rope connecting to a blimp. Meanwhile, the TARDIS phone rings, and the Doctor picks up the phone, hearing a little boy saying, "Are you my mummy?" on the other end. A young woman tells him not to answer and runs away. The Doctor follows her and forgets all about Rose. Meanwhile, Rose is stuck hanging from a rope connected to a blimp. The Doctor finds the girl, Nancy her name is, helping little children with finding food. A child with a gas mask starts banging on the front door of the house, and Nancy separates the children and forces the boy to stay outside. Meanwhile, Captain Jack flirts with Rose on top of his spaceship, while the Doctor chases Nancy to see if she has seen the mysterious cylinder. It turns out that the cylinder was being guarded, and that she cares of the children because her brother died in an air raid, and the Doctor must talk to Dr. Constantine before he sees the cylinder. Later, Dr. Constantine explains to the Doctor that the patients he is treating are not hurt from their injuries, and that they all have gas masks connected to all of them. Constantine becomes one of them just before he explains to the Doctor that Nancy's brother was one of these patients. Here we have the mystery of the episode. Who really is the child, and why is he asking for his mummy? Christopher Eccleston gives his most assured performance to date in this story, his best of the season since Dalek, but this is his most confident. You can see how bold he is in the part at this point, and if he was as fatigued as reported behind the scenes, it never once affects his portrayal. I particularly like his relationship with Nancy, which is very different to how he treats Rose. She initially doesn't want anything to do with him, but he wins her over by simply being gentle and understanding with her. He can read her easily, and tell that she has lost somebody to the war, something he can empathise with. His pained expression when he realises the truth about his bomb-dropping faux pas is wonderful. It's astonishing how well he gets on with the kids. He talks their lingo and doesn't patronise them at all. The Doctor knows exactly what it's like to be the one kid left out in the cold. Between this and the lonely child description in The Girl in the Fireplace later on, this new series is painting a dark picture of his childhood. You can tell that James Hawes is eager to paint a vivid picture of war-torn London from his first pen down the washing lines that set us on the materialising TARDIS. Is this the only Doctor Who story that takes place entirely at night? I expect so, given how much night filming takes place here. The Doctor stumbles in on a secret nightclub, candles, smoke, and sultry singing. It's all beautifully evocative. Is this an illicit homosexual night spot, as there seems to be an inordinate amount of same-sex couples together? Nevertheless, the Mill have proven an extraordinary catch for Doctor Who at this point and provided some glorious CGI for the series up to that point, but the empty child Doctor dances is where they really get to show what they can do. There's some deliriously good special effects in this tale, the moon glistening on the Thames, spotlights reaching into the sky, explosions claiming buildings, and enemy planes tearing through the night like a swarm of insects. It's not just a case of creating CGI landscapes here, there is something expressionistic and romantic about the images that they produce. Clearly there are special effects here that Billie Piper has been superimposed over, but they are still beautiful, artistic images nevertheless. I cannot believe this is the first time we've had the police box phone ring, however. Once we transported to Jack's timeship, I felt as if I was back at home in Classic Who. The design is not dissimilar to Glitz's old rust bucket in Dragonfire. Director James Hawes also makes sure to wring out every drop of tension out of the child's scenes, with fast cuts to show the child appearing suddenly, and point-of-view shots from behind his gas mask. Add to this the sound of his voice coming from the telephones of typewriters and wirelesses, and in one case a toy monkey, are all extremely eerie. The fact that it never says anything other than "Are you my mummy?" and variations on this line make it less human, but as the Doctor realises during the Doctor dances, it may seem like a confused lost child, but it is also unstoppable, something illustrated by its remorseless pursuit of Nancy. If Christopher Eccleston has come to terms with the part, Billie Piper is unstoppable at this point. She's taking a Union Jack t-shirt out for a test drive and it totally works. You can only imagine Billie Piper's reaction when she read a script that features her character hanging from a barrage balloon with a British flag plastered all over her chest as enemy fighters advance on her. Under any circumstances that is a winning scenario, except perhaps for Rose. She's deliriously flirtatious with Jack, footloose, fancy-free and very available. "I went by barrage balloon," she says. This is the angst-free, effortlessly hip season 1 through and through. She trusts Jack because he's like the Doctor but with dating and dancing. One of the greatest elements of this episode for me is in the introduction of Captain Jack Harkness himself, arguably one of the very best characters ever introduced in Who, a character that would go on to become a staple character of the spin-off Torchwood, and would prove to be one of the best characters in conception the new series has ever developed. Here in his very first appearance, John Barrowman absolutely smashes it, and certainly adds a lot to the episode, especially in trying to create a sense of mystery and intrigue as to what exactly is going on, and why he is so involved. In terms of the titular empty child itself, and indeed the gas mask zombies, they are genuinely creepy, and certainly had me on edge on a very first viewing, and in subsequent viewings in that respect. It is scary in the way it looks, creepy in the way it uses a child's voice, and encapsulates what it is about Doctor Who that is so synonymous with the scary aspect of sci-fi. The use of the gas mask, especially when it is seen to grow on the infected victim, as we see with the Dr. Constantine later on in the episode, is fantastic, as it takes a real-world thing and makes it scary forevermore. It may have been a little contrived in its setup, but the execution of this episode was nigh on faultless. The chilling "Are you my mummy" becomes something of a catchphrase and t-shirt slogan, thanks to the eponymous child's questioning and a series of scenes of beautiful creepiness on the top of the building, through the letterbox, and ultimately in Dr. Constantine's hospital at the end. Interspersed with the creepy stuff, there are moments of lightness and fun, which expertly balance one another, and were a pure distillation of everything good about Doctor Who. Scares, fun, pacifism, intrigue, underpinned by a reassurance that the Doctor was going to come through in the end and save the day. As has been the trend throughout the series, there are another healthy selection of guest stars who were delighted through this pair of episodes. First up, Richard Wilson. It is testament to the quality of work on offer in his solitary scenes towards the end of the episode that his character and his quick demise is so fondly remembered from Eccleston's series at the helm, assuming of course that's a man's skull being cracked and mutilated in a gas mask wearing zombie can be fondly remembered. Secondly, kudos must be given to Florence Hoth. She is seen here playing the role of Nancy, and as far as I'm concerned, she stole the show. Her cool, calm, and collected persona was engaging and understated through this half of the overall story, and as the truth of her past was revealed in the next part, there was a hetero depth and emotion that became apparent. More on her in the Doctor Dances review. Thirdly and finally, a mention should be given to the first appearance of John Barrowman's Captain Jack, who became a stalwart of the RTD era, as I've also mentioned. It is also worthy of note that the Next Time trailer, that had so undermined the cliffhanger of the previous two-parter, Aliens of London and World War III, has now been shifted to the end of the credits instead of the beginning, allowing the more spoiler-phobic viewers to reach for the remote control and switch over before being exposed to something ruinous. A good sign that the production team listened to the feedback of the viewers so quickly. In terms of any issues I simply have a few nitpicky things about this episode. One being the very first shot of the hospital ship flying through the vortex, which looks like a bottle cap hanging from a piece of string and isn't the greatest piece of CGI to date. Perhaps they are trying to capture the classic series a little bit too authentically, although I feel this is an argument that has not got much real gravity, as New Who is definitely different to the classic series, and this feels too much like a get out of jail free card. Also, one slightly strange moment for me is when Nancy tells the Doctor that he must go and see the Doctor. There is a slight mislead just for a second that this might be a past or future incarnation, but luckily it's just a minor thing that gets overruled rather quickly. However, it's just seemingly a bit strange to me, and I thought I'd point it out. Overall, it must be said that this episode, both on its own and as a setup for the second part, just works, and it's just amazing in its premise, design, and most importantly, execution. However, I'm afraid, in terms of an overall score for this episode, you will have to wait until next time.